All right, hello Michio and the coordinating committee. So instead of writing like a paragraph, cause I'm really tired of writing today, I'm just gonna make a video and just like talk about it and do it all in one take and hopefully nothing bad happens. All right, so my model, right? What are we gonna do? So we have, the first thing we gotta do is do the initial prediction, right? This is based on like the BPI and the poll averaging and whatever, right? So what we're gonna get is for each state, we're gonna have like a random number. So we're gonna have, like we're gonna look at the polls, do averaging, look at the priors, demographics, maybe do some weighting scheme so that if you have more polls, they give more of the weight, and we're just gonna get a number for each state, right? But we're gonna get two things. Each state is gonna have like a percentage of the vote, right, that a candidate's gonna get, and it's gonna have a like variance, right, like the standard deviation of this prediction, right? So variance. So we're gonna have these two things. Now, after that, what we're gonna do, we've already talked about this, is doing like a Euclidean distance correlation matrix, I don't really care which, but a way so that we can tell how much two states are similar. So for every state, I'm gonna just like draw it out here with the Euclidean distance thingy because it's easier for me to visualize, but this could have been done either way. So we have like our little map, and we have each state, and this is like a two demographic country, right? So we have our little distances, and this is all happy, right? Duke, Duke, and we have like maybe DC all the way over here or something. So we have our distances, right? We know how similar each state is to another. After that, so we have initial predictions for each state, and we have how much each state is related to the other demographically. So we're going to pick a random state and do a shift based on the variance that we predicted. So if we imagine that we have like like a normal curve, right? Just like a happy normal curve. The shift that we're going to apply is going to be based on, it's going to be the mean, right? The mean is just what we predicted for the state, right? Like the percentage of the vote that's going to be for Biden or whatever. So let's say that this state, 52% chance they vote for Biden. So we put 52 as the mean, and the standard deviation is going to be the one that we calculated earlier from the variance, right? Based on the polls and the, BPI, clairvoyance, whatever. So, in a state with like a lot of polls, maybe we don't have a lot of variance, and it's going to be like a super skinny distribution. Or in a state with very few polls, maybe it's like super wide or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, we're gonna make this bell curve, and we're going to pick numbers from it randomly based on like the probability. So, we pick, and we're gonna do that multiple times, right? But for each one, we're going to pick a number. So let's say 52% in Michigan or whatever. Let's say the state's Michigan. 52% is what we calculated to be the mean. But let's say we make our curve and we pick a number randomly, and we get, let's say, 54%. So 54% for Biden and Michigan. Hooray, right? So what we're going to do is then we see that we have like a difference here of 2%, right? This random number that we picked is 2% more in favor of Biden than what we predicted. So what does that mean, right? Well, then we're going to look at this difference of 2%, and we're going to shift each other state correspondingly. So let's say this big state here is Michigan, right? And this close one here is Wisconsin, and this is Michigan. We're going to shift Wisconsin in the direction of Biden by the corresponding amount. But maybe, this is DC. We're not going to shift it. So maybe Wisconsin gets shifted towards Biden 1.5%, right? Because they're pretty similar. So we add 1.5% there. But DC, DC is not similar at all. So maybe we add 0.01% towards Biden or something like that. And we do this for each state, right? Calculating this whole new like variance thing based on the original state, and or the shift based on the original state that we picked, in this case Michigan. And we run our model, and then we see what happens, right? So let's say in this case we see Biden wins with like 350 electoral votes or something like that, right? Then, so we would put that down as one of our results of our model, and we would just do it again. So then, we'd pick another state, Texas or maybe Nebraska or whatever. We pick a certain state, we shift it by a certain amount, and we see how that affects all other states. And that's how we build our model. Then we find out, we count them all up at the end, see which states a certain candidate won, like how many times and things like that. And I mean, if you want to talk to me about like what I like about this model, well, the main thing I like is like, it's not super complicated. Like it's pretty like self-explanatory. And I also like how you can identify key states. So if we see that, the race in Pennsylvania, whoever wins or whoever does like better or worse than what the polls predict in Pennsylvania is like 90% of the time the winner of the election, that's pretty significant. And when if we're going to do live election day coverage, we can kind of report on that as we go on. We can even manually plug in values. So let's say the polls said Biden was going to win Pennsylvania by 3%, right? But then he only wins it by 1% on election day. We can just plug in that 1%, pretending we picked it from the normal distribution, and apply that 2% shift towards Trump across the rest of the U.S. and see what happens. And as more states come out, we can kind of do it like that and give the like live percentage updates, like percentage probability that a certain candidate wins. I think that'd be super cool to do. And yeah, I mean, also this model doesn't rely directly on like shifting the demographics for each voter, so we don't have to know how African Americans vote or how lower income individuals vote or whatever demographics we're using. We just need to know how similar two states are. And the only issue with this is, of course, assuming that shift is applied equally through each state. So if, I don't know, let's say that there's a huge shift in Latinos towards Trump, and we won't be able to really accurately model that, because even if we shift, like New Mexico towards Trump, New Mexico also has a bunch of other demographics. And since we're not like really segregating by different races when we do this model, a shift in New Mexico doesn't necessarily mean that it's only Latino shift. So we might see a shift in Nevada or something, while really we wouldn't expect that if it was just Latino voters that were shifting. So that is the main shortcoming, but I think really that's small compared to the benefits that we get. All right, well, this video is already long enough, so I'll be ending it. I can also write a paragraph, but I feel like this video is a pretty good explanation. Bye.